aware that you're being stared at. So it's a sensation of being stared at. He's got a number of books out on this. So that if somebody is looking at you, you have an awareness that somebody is looking at you, even though they're looking at you is not generating any type of anything that we can tell, any type of activity that we can measure by just somebody looking, because that's actually they're just doing nothing but perceiving the light images reflecting off of your body. So they're not doing anything whatsoever to that. But at the same time, you have this kind of two-way street, if you would, where we know by experimentation that this is true. But also just the whole thing that Jimmy talked about when he walked in that room that he was describing earlier, how he almost got this sick sensation in your stomach. Another kind of interesting thing, too, is when a lot of soldiers had gone over to Vietnam, in that horrible war we had, they oftentimes were, the new recruits were the first ones killed so often when they'd be out in the jungle doing their campaigns, and that's because they didn't know how to sense the actual danger. They had no way of doing it. But the ones that became really expert at it just had this ability to be able to discern, things that no one. There was no measurable difference between a safe situation and an unsafe situation, but they knew what they were because they had survived a few of them, and they learned very, very quickly. So that whole body knowing notion, we now accept as real, but we don't have a scientific. We don't have a hard scientific, hypothesis, if you would, to be able to support that, because it is outside of anything that we can measure. Outside that we have no kinds of, we don't have any types of machinery or apparatus to measure what seems to be going on in this kind of body knowing thing, which really enters into the whole realm of consciousness that you're talking about, Tim. So just wanted to go a little bit on a side note on that.
So in Buddhism we call it 9 levels of consciousness. So the first 5 levels of consciousness is seeing, tasting, touching, smelling. What's the other one? Hearing.
Feeling.
Yeah, hearing. So the first 5 levels of consciousness, these are actual seeing consciousness, hearing consciousness, smelling consciousness, is actually a consciousness, which is why when someone looks at you, you can perceive that they're looking at you, because they're actually using consciousness in your consciousness. So your consciousness is connected to their consciousness, so you know that they're being consciously aware of seeing you. So, and people have noticed this. There was a movie about it. It was a true story about this guy who was spying on his neighbor while she was changing. And I guess he had the whole camera set up for a long time, and she knew for a long time it was someone watching her. And finally, he got arrested. I forget what the name of the movie was. It was a true story. But because she knew that someone was watching her, even though she had no way of proving it, she just knew, and she started getting freaked out. And finally, she discovered that her neighbor had these cameras set up, so he was watching her. So you can also do that when you sit down in a large group. You can sit back in the back, and in Access Consciousness, they teach you how to pull energy. You can pull energy from the people, or you can send energy at them, or you can pull it through them from all over the universe into them and into you, and you can almost in about within 5 to 10 seconds, you can probably get most of the people in the room to turn around and look at you if you're doing it, because people have that sense of anything that's going on. So I was talking about the first 5 levels of consciousness. The 6th level of consciousness is your thoughts. Your 7th level of consciousness is like your subconscious mind. Everything you've ever sensed on the first 6 levels of consciousness is stored in your subconscious mind. The 8th level of consciousness is every good or bad thing you've done, you've judged yourself for doing good or bad, it's stored in like this karmic storage. And then the 9th level of consciousness is this perfect pure white consciousness, which in Access Consciousness they just call awareness. So once you have full awareness, you're able to clear out all the other levels of consciousness. So you start seeing better, you start hearing better, you start tasting better, you start thinking better. You clear out the conscious storage of all the hard drive. Like if you take your computer and you do a defragmenting, you get rid of all the pictures of all the sites you've ever clicked on, and you can start your computer starts going faster. So that's what both Buddhism does and Access Consciousness does, is clear out all this memory that's in your levels of consciousness. And one way they do that is the bars, which there's... Next time I come on, I hope this is actually... The scientific research is going to be published real soon. And I forget the name of the guy. I was just looking him up. Flannan. I can't remember his name. But there's a physicist who's doing a full peer-reviewed study of what is the foundation of Access Consciousness, which is the bars, which is putting your hands on people's heads and clearing out all these conscious storage levels that are in the head. So now they have a whole, it's being peer level reviewed, and it's going to be out soon in a scientific journal. So I'll talk about that on another show in the future. But we have this ability, the more aware we become, to sense everything. So that's the people who actually live in war, who don't die, are people that are willing to be fully conscious. And people that don't, when there's a tidal wave coming, all the cats run to the hills and the dogs run to the hills, and the people wait around, and the tidal wave comes and knocks them out. But there was
exactly. That's the whole notion, by the way, of body knowing that we're shut down.
Yeah.
Override with our left hemisphere, we say it's not logical.
Yeah.
By the way, the ancients, peoples would have also run for the hills.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a lot of people in Fukushima, in Sendai, who did run for the hills. They had a sense something's coming. And I have lots of friends that live in that area that the tsunamis hit in Japan, and they knew something was not right, and they left. Mm-hmm. So it's just, it's what our natural, our culture has cut off from us. Culture, the word culture comes from the same word as cult. It's programming. And I talked on the previous show about Joseph Chilton Pierce. He's the guy who wrote The Magical Child and a few other really good books. Yeah.
I actually know Joe.
Yeah, you told me that. That's right. You told me, Joe and Joe. Okay.
Yeah.
So these cultural programmings that we've all accepted as the way things have to be, and the way things should be, and the way things shouldn't be, and the way things must be, and the way things can't. All those things keep us from the infinite consciousness and the infinite awareness that we can truly be. So part of the clearing in Access Consciousness is to get rid of all your beliefs, all your projections, all your expectations, all your judgments, all your conclusions, all your linearity, all your concentricity, all your form, structure, significance, everything that you created yourself to define yourself. You get rid of all those things, and what you're left with is your true being, which is absolutely perfect. It knows everything. It perceives everything. It can't do anything wrong. So you get to a state of, which I'm going to read from the same letter I was just reading, if you don't mind. This is from Nichiren Daishonin from 12th century or 13th century in Japan. He says, "When one understands that all phenomena whatsoever are manifestations of the Buddhist law, then one does not need any good friend to teach and instruct one. One thinks as one thinks, speaks as one speaks, acts as one acts, behaves as one behaves, and all one's four types of activities, walking, standing, sitting, lying down, all that one does is one with an harmonious accord with the mind of the Buddhas. One becomes a person who can act freely without error or obstacle." So when you become fully conscious, you can't do anything wrong, because you are actually living in communion with the earth, communion with all people and all beings and all entities, that you'll never do anything wrong. And this is the problem. A lot of people think that if they were to get rid of all their rules and regulations of culture, they would all of a sudden be bad. But in fact, most people wouldn't. Most people would, if they become fully conscious, there's never going to do something wrong to someone.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a different point of view about life. I mean, and you're right. It's based on the whole idea that you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, right, even within this particular world we live in today, even the current world we live in today, all the different social mores and the things that are okay and the things that are not okay. Um, there's almost nothing that somebody could do that either wouldn't be permitted in another culture or forbidden in another culture. Now, if you take, that's just today. Imagine if you were to take the last, 25,000 years of civilized, semi-civilized history, there'd be practically nothing. I mean, in other words, in some cultures, cannibalism would be the norm. Other cultures, doing crazy things to your body would be the norm. In other cultures, bigamy would be the norm. There's almost nothing in a particular that you could do right or wrong that hasn't been right or wrong.
Yeah.
Judged by somebody else. And so really, it's all all possibilities, and it's really it's kind of interesting as to then what is right and wrong. Which is a whole different other philosophical conversation that we don't have time to get into.
Yeah.
But it is interesting.
So, sorry, go ahead.
That's well. I was just going to say, just today, Tim.
Yeah.
Shorter than. Here we are in, like I'm in the United States, and we're obviously concerned. Our president, of course, is maybe overly concerned, but certainly concerned about terrorism, okay, and and the like. And those people, the people that are part of ISIS, for example, to me, they're not bad people. They believe in their cause. They think they're doing the best possible thing for what it is that they believe. It happens to be diametrically opposed to us, and it ends up harming us. But in their mind, it is what they believe. They truly believe that others that don't follow their Sharia law or whatever it is are infidels and so forth and so on. But we think of them as bad people, and not that you would treat them any differently, because they put a suicide bizarre and blow themselves up. So either way, it does seem to be creating evil. But as I say, we're not talking about Blackbeard the pirate or we're talking that they're doing the right thing. So it's just a different point of view.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you got cut off at the end. I couldn't hear much of what you're saying, but I think most of what's going on with terrorism is just a reflection of all of our collective thoughts, feelings, and emotions that we've created such separation between people and cultures, and of course a reaction towards U.S. hegemony around the world and all the governments we help finance to do all kinds of terrible things in the Middle East and other world. It's just all a reaction. So the thing is,
sometimes you reap what you sow.
Yeah, and in Buddhism we always talk about you never look outside of yourself. You look at yourself first. So what could so from a Buddhist perspective and from an Access Consciousness perspective, what could the U.S. do to be more compassionate to other people around the world? What can the U.S. do to, and of course, this is always the lie that the government's using, that we are doing all this good stuff, but if you really look at what they're doing, it's always usually terrible stuff. And it's always...
Exactly. It's also self-serving.
Yeah, self-serving.
And by the way, and because you have the power to communicate what a great job you're doing from a self-serving standpoint.
Yeah.
It's so easy,
Yeah.
Anyway, that could be a whole other topic.
So one thing in Buddhism... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So one thing in Buddhism and in Access, which is this idea of we live in the kingdom of we, which you can't possibly do anything to another person that doesn't affect you. So whatever you're doing to other people, it's affecting you. If you think you can get away with affecting other people negatively and it's not gonna affect you, then you're totally deluded, which is the difference between an enlightened person and a deluded person. Most of what the U.S. has been doing around the world is completely delusional, that they can reap a massive financial reward while other people have total negative consequences, and they think that's somehow going to not come back, and it always does. So anyway.
It always does, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's the whole concept of voodoo, by the way. You know, it's basically view you so that what you do unto others, you are doing to yourself.
Yeah.
And we've had that in many doctors, and it's so true, and the whole concept of karma and so forth. Tim, unfortunately,
Yeah.
we're up against our end of show
Okay.
kind of deadline, but we're going to run a couple minutes late because I don't want to be shutting you right off. So, Tim, so what I know you get a lot of other things going on, but what is the best way? Because I know the answer to this, but what is the best way for folks to find out more about you and the philosophy that you espouse, and maybe access to some of all that you do?
Okay, so just put in any search engine Tim Janakis, Janakos, Janakis. And my website is tjmusic.org, as in orgasm. And on there is the links to all of my radio show, my healing, I do so many different things. I'm actually moving back to California on the 28th of this month, so I'm leaving Japan for good.
Good for you. Wow, that's exciting. Whereabouts in LA are you going to
I'm landing in LA, and I'm going to be staying for a while with my parents in Oceanside, San Diego County. But I'm looking for jobs all over San Diego, all over Orange County, all over LA. So it depends on where I get a good job and where I'm going to be living.
Very good.
Yeah.
I'm heading out there in March. I should probably look you up.
Yes.
I'll be in the LA area.
Cool.
And kind of in the valley.
Well, maybe we can do a talk somewhere. We can do a joint lecture or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I will let you know when I head out there.
Okay. Cool. Thanks so much for having me on again.
You're very welcome, Tim. And thank you again. And good news, you're coming back here. But obviously, we never with internet radio. There was never a problem. Tuning in folks from all over the world. So that's great. The magic of Skype and the magic of internet radio all in one. But folks, thank you for listening tonight, and thank you for tuning in to Ordaining Reality with your host, Dr. Joe Donlin. And of course, we'll be back next week, same time. And for me right now, it's 8:32 p.m. And so we start the show at roughly 7:30 p.m. So it's an hour and a half long show. And of course, obviously, adjust your clocks accordingly. And if you missed any part of the show tonight, we have podcast, so we replay this several more times. You go on the Gem Jin site, gemjinradio.com, to find the site. You're already on it now if you're listening, but you can tell your friends, and it will tell you when the podcasts are replayed. And so please check it out then. Check out Tim's website, and also, of course, Jimmy Morris's website, and tell your friends about the show, and listen to the podcast again, and suggest that to them. And that's pretty much a wrap. And I say good night and God bless.
You're clear, Joe.
Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Tim. Great job.
Talk to you guys next time.
Yeah. Tim could be on for a whole hour.
I could be on for 6 hours if you wanted me to.
Yeah. So, but same with Jimmy. But just worked out. Worked it in.
Okay, no problem.
And we fused it in. We fused the two things together.
I like
have a great week. Sorry, Lucy.
Like format that way. I think it was a good format and broke things up nicely. But we'll definitely make sure we get in touch with Tim when he's back here. We can definitely get him on again.
Cool. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, Joseph. Talk to you soon.
I don't know if we can connect when I'm out there, but I'll let you know.
Okay, we'll see.
I'll let you know, Tim, when I'm heading out there.
The universe is on our side, so whatever happens will be good.
Exactly. All right. Well, good luck, my man. And we'll see you soon and talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye, you guys.
Take care. Good night.
Okay, we're done. Thanks, you guys.